paying. What did you say to paying something to virtue?
When vice pays tribute to virtue, it's
Okay.
hypocrisy.
One area where I felt not vice, but just paying tribute to virtue was President Trump saying, like acknowledging how many people Russia lost to help win World War II. Do you feel like that was him at least indicating to Putin, we see you, we see your past contributions?
Perhaps. His numbers are all wrong. He's never gotten any of them right. And truthfully, I don't think we'll ever know how many people died in the East during World War II. That war was so horrific and so damaging. It's a waste of time connecting it to what happens today. The important thing is to understand what's happening now. Over the last 3 years, we've seen probably 1.1 to 1.2 million Ukrainians die on the battlefield against the Russians. In that same time frame, the Russians have lost somewhere between 90 and 100,000 dead. Now, keep in mind that we in Vietnam, in the 8 years that we were on the ground there, lost 58,000 plus killed, over 100,000 wounded. This has been a much more intense conflict because we have poured everything we could into these Ukrainians in the hopes that they would do enormous damage to Russia. But having done that, the Russians recovered when they realized what they were up against, changed their strategy, reorganized their force, and went into battle, and they've won this war. That sacrifice is enormous, 90 to 100,000 Russians. If you stop and consider that sacrifice, the assumption that they are now going to meekly say, oh, thank you so much, we're going to withdraw from half the territory we currently control so that we can get along with you. That's absurd. That makes no sense. And the Ukrainians have to face up to the fact that they've lost. And I'm talking about the Ukrainians that are in charge. Sometimes I have trouble believing they're Ukrainians because I can't imagine any Ukrainian with a shred of decency and humanitarian impulse in him sending these people into battle over and over and over again to be slaughtered by a military machine they do not understand and cannot match.
This is not just a war of weapons, it's a war of survival. The numbers are staggering, the loss is unimaginable, and yet the world refuses to accept reality. How much longer can this continue? How much more blood must be spilled before the truth is acknowledged? Douglas Macgregor paints a grim picture of the war in Ukraine, portraying it as a catastrophic conflict where Ukraine has suffered devastating losses while Russia has strategically adapted and emerged victorious. He dismisses attempts to connect the present war to historical events, emphasizing that the battlefield today tells its own brutal story. According to him, Ukrainian leadership is refusing to accept the reality of their losses, continuing to send troops into an unwinnable fight. His analysis suggests that Western efforts to weaken Russia have not only failed, but have led to an outcome that many refuse to confront. As we shift our focus from Douglas Macgregor's analysis, the broader geopolitical landscape is undergoing significant developments. The past 12 hours have been marked by critical events, shaping the future of the conflict in Ukraine and its implications for global stability. At the heart of these developments are high-stakes peace talks, nuclear threats, and an alarming attack on Chernobyl. Let's delve into the details. The most notable updates come from Germany, where the Munich Security Conference is taking place. This annual event gathers world leaders, policymakers, and defense experts to discuss pressing security issues. Notably, this year's conference has been overshadowed by discussions on Ukraine and the potential for diplomatic resolutions. During the next several days, two key diplomatic events will unfold. First, the Munich Security Conference continues to be a platform for deliberations on the future of the Ukraine conflict. Second, crucial peace talks are scheduled in Saudi Arabia, where representatives from the United States, Russia, and Ukraine will convene. Former President Donald Trump emphasized the importance of these negotiations, stating that they will determine whether a settlement of the conflict is even achievable. However, he also expressed skepticism about the feasibility of a resolution, reflecting the complexities of the geopolitical landscape. Amid these developments, U.S. Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin made several significant statements, signaling a strategic shift in the West's approach. He emphasized that European allies should take primary responsibility for their own defense, raising questions about America's long-term commitment to NATO's security framework. This stance suggests either a strategic pivot towards other global concerns, such as the Middle East or China, or an effort to minimize financial expenditures on European security. Reports indicate that Russian representatives are present at the Munich Security Conference, engaging in behind-the-scenes discussions with U.S. officials. These closed-door meetings aim to explore potential pathways for a settlement. The initial statements from various officials provide insight into the diplomatic tug-of-war at play. One key assertion came from NATO Secretary General Jens Stoltenberg, who clarified that NATO never explicitly promised Ukraine membership as a result of peace negotiations with Russia. This statement suggests that NATO is recalibrating its stance under pressure from both Russia and the United States. Meanwhile, European leaders are voicing concerns about potential backroom deals between Washington and Moscow. European Union Foreign Minister Kaja Kallas emphasized that any agreement reached without Europe's participation would be ineffective. She underscored that a lasting resolution requires not only U.S. and Russian involvement, but also the commitment of European nations and Ukraine itself. This sentiment reflects broader fears that a U.S.-Russia-dominated settlement might sideline European interests and leave Ukraine in a precarious position. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky has made it clear that negotiations with Russia cannot proceed without a unified stance among Ukraine, Europe, and the United States. During a conversation with Polish Prime Minister Donald Tusk, Zelensky stressed the need for collective agreement on security guarantees before engaging in any meaningful dialogue with Moscow. Zelensky's concerns are rooted in the fear that a premature settlement favoring Russia could embolden Moscow to continue its aggressive policies. He has openly discussed the possibility of NATO troops being deployed to Ukraine, arguing that robust security assurances are essential to deter further Russian advances. His calls for stronger Western military commitments, including the stationing of 100,000 NATO troops in Ukraine, illustrate Kyiv's apprehensions about the credibility of potential peace agreements. While diplomatic discussions intensified, a shocking event unfolded on the ground: an attack on the Chernobyl nuclear power plant. This facility, infamous for the catastrophic meltdown in 1986, remains a sensitive site due to residual radiation and its strategic significance. Reports indicate that a drone strike targeted the plant's protective structures, leading to an explosion and damage to its shielding. Video footage of the attack reveals the moment of impact, highlighting the potential dangers of such an incident. Ukrainian sources quickly attributed the strike to Russian forces, arguing that Moscow is deliberately escalating tensions to derail peace talks. However, there is considerable uncertainty regarding the true perpetrators of the attack. Some analysts speculate that this attack may have been orchestrated by parties seeking to prevent negotiations from progressing. Given the timing, just before the Munich Security Conference, the incident could be an attempt to pressure Western nations into maintaining a hardline stance against Russia. Others suggest that internal Ukrainian factions opposed to negotiations might have staged the attack to discredit diplomatic efforts and sustain Western military support. Regardless of the responsible party, the attack on Chernobyl raises serious concerns about nuclear security. Any significant damage to the facility could result in radioactive contamination, posing a threat to Ukraine and neighboring countries. The international community now faces the challenge of addressing these nuclear risks while navigating the fragile peace process. The unfolding situation presents several critical challenges. First, the credibility of the peace talks hinges on whether all involved parties can agree on fundamental principles. The divergence between the U.S., Europe, and Ukraine on security guarantees complicates the negotiation process. Russia's potential leverage in these discussions further adds to the uncertainty. Second, the attack on Chernobyl underscores the risks of uncontrolled escalation. If similar incidents continue, they could provoke a broader crisis with catastrophic consequences. It remains to be seen whether the international community will take decisive action to safeguard nuclear facilities and prevent further provocations. Finally, the strategic calculus of major players, Washington, Moscow, Brussels, and Kyiv, will shape the trajectory of the conflict. While some factions advocate for a diplomatic resolution, others push for continued military engagement to prevent concessions to Russia. The coming days will reveal whether peace negotiations gain traction or if escalating hostilities overshadow diplomatic efforts. The past 12 hours have provided a glimpse into the high-stakes nature of the Ukraine conflict. The Munich Security Conference, upcoming peace talks in Saudi Arabia, NATO's shifting stance, and the alarming attack on Chernobyl all contribute to an increasingly complex situation. As world leaders navigate these challenges, the path to peace remains fraught with obstacles, and the specter of further escalation looms large. The situation on the battlefield remains as intense as ever. Russia continues to throw its soldiers into the meat grinder, suffering staggering losses every day. Ukraine, with its resilience and strategic adaptability, continues to hold the line and strike back where it hurts the most. The latest reports show that Russian forces are experiencing catastrophic casualties, and their attempts to break through Ukrainian defenses are failing spectacularly. But this war is not just about the battles being fought in the trenches. It's also about the larger geopolitical implications. Russia's continued aggression, its alliance with North Korea, and its reliance on Iranian drones paint a grim picture of a regime that is desperate to sustain its war effort. Meanwhile, Ukraine is proving time and time again that it can win, if given the right tools. The recent destruction of Russian equipment, supply depots, and logistical hubs is a testament to how effective precision strikes and modern weaponry can be. The use of long-range drones and advanced artillery is crippling Russia's ability to sustain its offensive. Yet, despite these successes, Ukraine still faces immense challenges. The delays in Western aid, the ongoing shortages of ammunition, and the need for more air defense systems continue to pose serious threats. This is where global support becomes crucial. If the West is truly committed to stopping Russia's aggression and preventing further instability in Europe, it must step up its game. Providing Ukraine with the weapons it needs is not just about defending Ukrainian territory, it's about ensuring long-term security and deterring future conflicts. The stakes are higher than ever, and hesitation only gives Putin more room to maneuver. As we wrap up, let's remember one crucial thing. Ukraine's victory is not just possible, it is necessary. The Russian military machine is breaking down. The losses are mounting. The cracks in their war strategy are becoming more evident with each passing day. But for Ukraine to press forward, it needs continued and unwavering support. And now, it's over to you. What do you think about the latest developments? Will Russia's mounting losses force them to change their strategy, or will they continue down this path of destruction? Can Ukraine push them back even further with the right support? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. I read every single one. And if you found this update insightful, don't forget to like this video and subscribe to the channel for more real-time updates on the war. Your engagement helps spread the truth about what's happening on the ground. And finally, if you want to stay ahead of all the latest updates, hit that notification bell so you never miss a new video.